So we are back in sort of a different style of video, actually. And skip. Sorry, I'm just trying to get some stuff set up here. Anycubic Cobra. There you go. So yeah, I need to do printer. No, sorry, that's not what I need. Cobra Go. Manage. Machine settings. 220 by 220. There we go. So I sort of want to talk about, I guess, (3D) printing with a bit of a tutorial, I guess. How I take a file, which I'll show you where I get my files and stuff like that, and sort of the way that I work with 3D printed files, either be that, and I should preface this that all the models that I'm going to show, or the model that I'm going to show, are going to be free. So how I turn a basic model into this, which this is a Squirtle model from Floralistic. This is the low poly remixed or remastered, I guess, Squirtle. I have changed a few things on Kira, which I'm going to show in a second here, and I'll talk about them now, I guess. So here we are in Kira. We're actually on my other computer, so then it's easier for me to record this. But so this is what I see whenever I open up Kira. This is actually Kira 5.6. I have my printer set up, which is the Cobra Go, which is the printer that I have, which unfortunately is no longer available. I do actually need to move myself about there. There you go. So maybe I'll actually up a little bit. There you go. So actually, correction. No, I'll move myself bottom left, because I know there's nothing for Kira really in bottom left Kira. So basically, this is what I look at every single time I open up Kira. So we will be going to, oops, wrong mouse. Going to here, and then we will be going to Things, which is a free site, by the way. Excuse me, or one of the free sites. And then we can do, like, here's one from Mandic Reilly, who I follow. Print Obsession, who does a lot of props, like these sort of things. This isn't their design. This is a one from, like I said, Floralistic. Fotis Mint. Let's do one of his. And then I just find one that I like. I should say also that I do have a ton of models on my computer. Unfortunately on this computer, but I do on my other computer. So I typically just look for a model that's easy to print, and it's quick. like most of these will be a multi-hour minimum print. But yeah, I'll typically look through ones here. Let's back out here for a second here, and let's keep looking. Printed Obsession, why not? I printed a lot of their stuff, or have tried to print a lot of their stuff recently. Hasn't gone well. Let's do. I'm just trying to see if what one here would actually be. Yeah, why not? This guy doesn't look too bad. Oh, but it's a paid model. You have to have a subscription for that one. There's a few that you might have to pay for or be a member for. But most of them you don't have to. I can, if I need to, grab a model online. Let's do. I'm just trying to think here. What one would be quick? I've done Yoshi. I've done that Pikachu. I'm just trying to see one here that could not take a long time to print, considering. And granted, like I said, I'm not going to be printing it tonight, so it doesn't really matter. But I just sort of want to show you how I deal with files and stuff like that. Let's do, yeah, sure. Let's do this Kirby one. Download model. Let me just switch back to here because I need to actually log in to the account, which I should have done before. And then we will get this screen here saying, hey, where do you want to dump it? So we're just doing, I'm just putting it to my desktop for now, and say do not show this for 90 days. And view membership plans if you want to look at it. So it's like $10 a month. So, which is not bad. But I would say if you aren't going to be printing frequently, I wouldn't recommend it. So we're back in Cura now, and then we do Control O, which means open, and then we go to desktop, and you'll see here it says KirbyWave.stl. So STL is the file, and then we hit open. And then what I typically do is I typically hit rotate first, just to sort of see what I'm working with. Hit select face to align to build plate. So then you can basically try to get them to stand up, basically. But in this case, he's not allowing me to stand him up. There we go. There. So this is the full size of what he's going to be once he's printed. Oh, I am covering the size of him, so I can dump myself right there, I guess. So it's going to be 141 mils tall, 149.1. So if we open up our trusty calculator, make sure I grab the right mouse again. And then what I do is I typically do length. So from millimeters to centimeters, so cm. And then I put in 149.1. So it's going to be about 15 centimeters tall. Not too bad. So I could just say, okay, run it. No supports, yes to adhesion, and I would be good to go. But what I typically do is, for a test print like this Kirby here, what do I typically do? Well, I check the print time first, like to see, oh, what's the rough print time. and then I go from there. So this guy here, it's going to be a day and an hour, just because of the size of them. So what I would typically do then is bring myself back over to on top of there, just so then I didn't know how high that box went. So you can see he's at 100% size. So he's 133 by 164 by 149. Right. So what I would typically do is come down and basically shrink them to 50% size. And I do this with all models that I'm testing first. There have been a few models where I have gone full send, full 80, 90% size, and they've worked. Well, partially worked. I know one has fully worked, the other has partially worked. And then I re-slice it, and it drops down to 4 hours and 21 minutes. And then once you send it to the printer, which I won't be sending this one to the printer, however long the settings are. Oh, right, I actually forgot to show you the settings. So what we can do here is we can go into what is called custom, and we can actually configure the way that we want this thing, right? So the layer height, what's the wall thickness, so this is at 2. I've had good success at anywhere between 4 to 6 wall. I typically do 4 wall. It says here 6 top layers, 6 bottom layers. That typically works well for me. 15% infill works. I typically stay around 25% infill typically. The material, I'm just printing at PLA, so 190 degrees. 50 on the speed. Travel is selected for retraction. Cooling, yes. Supports, I typically don't do supports on round models like the Kirby. I did a brim here. Typically I would do a raft, and I'll show you what a raft looks like in a sec here. And then I would reslice it with those settings changed. So instead of it being like 4 hours and something, it's going to be 5 hours 53, and that is just like a rough time basically. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but it's also not going to be slow either, right? And you can speed it up and slow it down. Like I said, these are the settings that I use. I'll show you what a raft would look like in a sec. Here we go. I grabbed another model actually. So I actually grabbed 2 models. I actually have to break one apart. There you go. So this is what a brim looks like. It's very, very thin around, and then the model would fit in here around it. But a raft builds it up a little bit, and it's a little bit easier for the model to stick and stuff like that. This actually was the model for, which I'll actually show you. Give me a sec. For this guy, I've had some issues with it. It was printing like this sort of thing, so sort of on an angle. So this is Rey's lightsaber from Force Awakens. Not fully completed, unfortunately, because obviously you can see it's sort of tilted that way down. But this was printed at 97% size at I think 50% infill, so it's actually quite heavy. And this was printed at the same, no, correction, this was printed at different settings. This was printed with sort of the settings that I used for the Kirby that I showed you. And this was, I think, 50% infill, whereas this was, I think, 50 as well, but it unfortunately failed. But it's a lot cleaner markings and stuff like that on it compared to what this would be. So yeah, so you're probably wondering, like, what do you do once you you have it in this state, which I'll show. I'll bring back myself back here. So typically what you would do, oh, actually I need to do this for a sec, sorry about that. So what you would do is you would, depending on what type of printer you have, if you have a Bamboo X1 Carbon, you wouldn't be using Cura, you would be using their slicer, so then you can immediately just send it to the printer. But for me, I have the Anycubic Cobra Go, so I have to actually manually save it to an SD card. There's a micro SD card right here that I use for all the 3D printing. It's in a card reader, obviously. This does have a micro SD slot on it, but for some reason it doesn't actually work. I would plug this into the computer, and then, which we can actually do here. Oops, which I need to switch. There we go. So I plug this whole unit here, like I just showed, into the computer. If for some reason okay, that worked. And then we would say, and then it would change from save to disk to save to removable, and then I would save it to the SD card, and then I would send it to the printer. But obviously, like I said, I'm not going to be printing this model. Actually, give me a second here. Let me just do something here. So we are going to delete that file, because we are going to do something a little bit crazy. So jump back to Thangs here. Like I said, there's tons of different ones. There's some stuff on Coach 3D that's free. There's Thingiverse, My Mini Factory, Prusa has their own site called Printables, but I use Thangs quite a fair bit. Pretty much my go-to. Ray Lightsaber in this case, and you can see here's one from that's similar to the one that I showed. So if we actually go into it, this one for example, this is the Dark Rays lightsaber, which I could print, yes, but I do like actually let's print Leia's. I actually haven't printed Leia's at all. Oh wait, oh right, because this is, I believe if I, oh okay, I have to be a member to get that one. That's kind of annoying. So there are some here that you might have to be a member for. I actually don't like this view. This is the view that I like personally. I typically use a grid just so then I can see everything. So let's do There's a couple here that I'm going to look at. There's this one here. They're both from the same person. one might be, yeah. So we're going to be doing this one. I was thinking about doing Qui-Gon's replaceable blade lightsaber, but unfortunately it says I have to be a member for it, which kind of is unfortunate. But it is what it is. I think I would have to be a member for this one. But so we are going to be doing the Lego lightsaber print in place, which I've never actually done a print in place model before. I'm just seeing down here. So we would say download the model, save it to the desktop, do that, close that, and then jump back here, open up our new model called Lego Lightsaber PNP, and you can see it's 155, so that's about 16 centimeters, I would say, close to it, I would say. 157.9, 0.5, I would say, so about 16 centimeters tall. So I was pretty darn accurate on that. So we have a raft, 50% print speed, 60 on the bed, 90 on the material temperature, 25% infill, 6 bottom layers, 6 top layers. Actually, I'm going to adjust those respectively to 8 each. And then for here, I'm going to do it as a 1.0 thickness, 4 wall count. I'm going to bump that up to a 6. I don't need supports, but what I am going to do is I am going to shrink this because it is going to take a lot of time. I'm going to say at about 16 centimeters tall, I'm going to say about 8-9 hours, maybe 10 hours at most, I would say. And then I'll talk about material once this thing is actually printing. Once, depending, like I said, I'm not doing it at full size like it is now. I'm going to be doing it in half, probably 50%. 50% size, just because, again, I want to. Considering that this is the first time I've done a print in place print, which actually, why am I doing this one? I could do there's another one I just thought of, just that would make it so much easier. Yeah, Flexi Rexy. There's one here that was actually a good version of the Flexi Rexy model from. Let me do it this way. There you go. It was on printables. For some reason, I thought it was on things. It was actually on printables, which is another free site. So this lightsaber is going to be about 16 hours at full height. So if I cut this down to, let's say, 50% and say print it, it's going to cut the time down in half. So it's going to probably be about 4.5–5 hours. So let's actually see what it is going to be. 2 hours 33. Okay. So that's a little bit more than what the Flexi Rexy is going to be. But I've never done a print in place before, so I'm thinking I'm going to test my luck with a Flexi Rexy. So again, we just download it, oh wait, we have to do this version down here. We have to hit save. I do actually have an account, but I'm not going to sign into it in this case. And then we do Rexy improved. The layers and all that stuff that I've done, it should take about like 3 hours. Yeah, 2 hours 42, which is actually not that bad. So it'll be done around like 12:30. We say save to removable. Oh my god. And then we close that down. And what I always do is I always double check to make sure the drive's actually ejected, which it is. Then what we do is we would jump over to the printer, which I'm going to do right now. And I'll be back in a sec. So I will be filming the next part on my phone, so I will be back in a sec. That is how I set up 3D prints. And you're probably wondering like what material should I go with and stuff like that. So let me switch back to my main computer and I will talk about that. So I'm betting you guys have noticed potentially during the video the 3 boxes, cardboard boxes on my shelf over here. Right there, those 3 boxes. So those 3 boxes I'm going to grab and we'll talk about it. So there's all different types of material from POA, which these top 2 boxes are. The bottom one is actually an ABS, which is like what ski helmets and bike helmets are made out of, that sort of material. There's TPU, which is flexible. There's wood ones. There's metal ones. There's rainbow colors like this guy here, or the big Pachymari behind me was printed with the same color material. And there's also tons of different manufacturers, from Anycubic, which is what this guy was made from. This was the Anycubic Silk Rainbow POA. I actually still have the empty roll. Give me a second to grab that. So here's actually 2 empty rolls. This one, and you also have to make sure you buy the right size of filament or printing material for your printer. So let's say, for example, your printer prints in 2.85 mil. You buy 2.85. For me, I buy 175 because that's what the printer is. Or uses, I should say. So this one was the Anycubic POA White, which is what I bought when I bought the printer back in end of May, early June of this year. I actually, do I have any prints in white? Give me a second, actually. Yeah. Lucky enough, I have one of my test models here. This is the excuse me, a Minecraft ore block which I printed. I know I definitely could get it better. I had some issues with it. I had old material still stuck in the print head and stuff, but it's all been cleaned out now. So that's what all sort of the brown marks are and stuff like that on it. It doesn't really show on camera, but there are some like burn marks sort of thing, and that's just from old material. So typically your roll would be filled pretty much out to the edges here, and I'll show you that in a second here. So once it's done, this unfortunately is garbage, this black one, but this clear one, which was the Silk POA Plus, which is what this was made with, and the big Pachymari behind me, which is the longest print I've done in terms of print time and of build plate width. So, for example, the build plate of the Anycubic, Cobra Go, and the Neo is 220 by 220 by 250, so 220 length, 220 deep, 250 tall. And that guy pretty much almost filled the width of the plate, not the height, thankfully, but it did take over 14 hours to print. I do have one that is not as wide, but tall, and it took about close to 11 hours. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show it because it is going to be shipped out by the time this video comes out. But I will be printing myself one in the near future. And I will probably talk about that in the next video, once some stuff has been shipped out. So, material. So, and I want to say this right up. I buy all my own material. None of the material that I'm going to be showing, the 3 boxes of the Polymaker, they didn't send this to me. I bought it myself. So I want to get that clear. So, like I said, so the Anycubic stuff is actually fairly good. Like I said, I did have some issues to begin with and stuff like that. I'm still fighting with the printer even now. But this is the result of the print here. Like I said, I need to do some more work with it, but it's decent enough, shall we say. So this was the Anycubic Silk Rainbow POA, which I absolutely love. It's expensive. As of recording, that material is... let me give me a second here. Filament. It's like I said, it's not cheap. The basic gray is like $27 Canadian. There's silk, which is what this was printed with, and the big Pachymari and a couple other things in here, is right now, as of recording, $39. Right now, as of recording this video on December the 10th, which also happens to be the 30th anniversary of Doom. So there's that for you guys as well. These 2 boxes here, so this box here, let me just make sure I'm grabbing the right box. Yes, I did. And this box here are $27 a piece. Pretty reasonable. And these are both just standard POAs. Well, this one's actually a POA Plus, so in theory a little bit better quality, stuff like that, which is probably the next one I'm going to go with. And then you might be wondering, what is the third one? Is that a TPU or a flexible? No, it's actually an ABS. Because there's some stuff that I want to do in ABS, like Ray's lightsaber, like I said, but I'll probably first run a test print of it in probably the blue, which is, where's the blue? Here's the blue. In this one right here, this is the blue. And I'll show you what each color looks like. Unfortunately, so the one that I just showed, this one, it's just the Anycubic purple, just their generic purple. This is the Polyterra blue, I guess it is. What is it actually called? Blue. Okay. So it sort of looks like a dark blue sort of thing, or a medium blue. It is wrapped in a reusable bag, which is nice. Not like the Anycubic stuff, which is just wrapped in sort of a plastic shrink wrap, which you have to puncture, and then you have to recycle. This bag I could actually reuse for like other materials or models if I wanted to. This one here that I'm grabbing now is the watermelon. So it's basically like the inside of a watermelon, so that pinky red red color. So yeah, so very nice color. I do enjoy looking at it when I do pull it out. I might print with that one next. Either the blue or that watermelon. Please, again, feel free to let me know down in the comments down below. And then you might be wondering, what is this box? So this box here is the newest box that I just got back literally a few days ago. About like almost a week ago now. I'm just running through the last little bit of the Anycubic purple PLA. So the same stuff that this was made with, as well as this and a bunch of other stuff, which I would love to show you, but there's some surprises for someone coming, so I can't, unfortunately. So I was always looking at ABS, which, like I said, this is a box of ABS. But I didn't want to go out and spend, in this case, $27 on a thing of ABS because I didn't know what the printer was going to do. Luckily, the printer is rated for ABS, so I can actually print it. But with that being said, I didn't know what it was going to do. I would rather not spend the full $27. I would have liked to spend $15, $20, like $5 to $10 on a thing of ABS, like 500 grams. Unfortunately, it's a lot more expensive. From sort of the looking that I did recently, 500 grams of ABS will run you about 75 bucks. And that's just because supply and demand. Most people don't want to buy just 500 grams. So they jack the price up because of it. So I ended up saying, okay, fine, whatever. I'll buy a full kilogram. So that's 2.2 pounds for those wanting to know how much it is in pounds. There's so many different types, so many different types of colors of ABS. You have greens, you have blacks, you have reds, you have yellows. Pretty much any type of color of ABS that you can think of, it probably exists. This is, shall we say, one of the brightest colors that I've ever printed with. And I printed with some pretty bright colors, like the purple, for example, is pretty bright. It doesn't show it on camera because my lighting in here is terrible, but it's actually pretty darn bright. The silk rainbow is pretty nice to look at from the brightness side, but this is like blinding colored. But it's Yeah. It's a lime green. It doesn't really show it on camera, but it is a lime green. Yeah, so you might be wondering like, oh, why didn't you just stay with Anycubic since they made your printer and all that? Well, I did want to try other manufacturers because, at least in this case, in Polymaker's case, there is a profile for it in Cura. So I thought, you know what, just grab it. It was also cheaper. So a typical Anycubic order for me, with taxes and shipping and everything, is about $80. Yeah, $80. That is quite a fair bit for two rolls of material. And you might think, oh, that's not that expensive. It's actually quite expensive. So yeah, so I'm just doing other computer work as well. So yeah, so I thought, you know what, since there's a profile for it in Cura, it's a little bit cheaper. I will go ahead and try it. So two of these rolls right here, so these two rolls right here was a total of just over $60. I think it was like $62 or something, which is, like I said, pretty reasonable. So yeah, so pretty reasonable compared to, like I said, like over $60 or over $80 for stuff from Anycubic. So yeah, like I said, I did want to try it because, like I said, there was the profile for it in Cura. It was a little bit cheaper. And you might be wondering, like, do you typically buy 3 rolls? No, I typically don't have this much on hand. I typically only have 2 boxes on hand, because that lasts anywhere between 3 to 6 months, depending on how large I'm printing and sort of what sort of models I'm printing, sort of what amount of info I'm using, print time, all that sort of stuff. But so I typically buy 2 rolls at a time, which are these 2 here where my hand is. This one was just because it was on sale for like same price, and I was able to get it quickly. Within like a day of ordering it, it was already here the next day. So I thought, you know what, just grab a thing of ABS, and when the weather turns better than what it is right now, because it's going into winter where I live right now, then I'll be probably printing ABS, so then I can have my window fully open rather than like a crack like it is now. So yeah, so like I said, I typically don't have this much on hand, but I always like to have some on hand, just some extra stuff, shall we say. just in case if there's any issues and stuff like that. So yeah, so yeah, so I always have some material on hand, even if it's like one box, because I have one on the system already. And you might be wondering, like, when do you order more? Is it like when you have one roll left, or like that sort of situation? So for me, and everybody's different, right? Like for me and the way that I print, I do it where if I'm looking at the printer from where I'm sitting at my desk, I can see the printer. I would be like, okay, if I had, let's say, what I have left now, and I only had, let's say, one roll here, right, as a backup, then I'd be like, okay, I need to order more, right? Because I know I might not have enough material to get me through, in this case, the winter months. So things like that. So typically for me, that's what I do, is I typically I would typically always order more, like when I get to about either half to a third of the roll left, typically about a third, just so then I have everything set up. I hate Cura because so, like, if I look at, let's say right now, Polymaker, it only shows their POA. But, like, I know for a fact if I go into Manage Materials, I can get their profile for their ABS. And it is the Polylite, P-O-L, Polylite ASA, which for some reason, okay, let me do it this way. Nope, not ABA, ASA, or ABS, I should say. Like, I have selected the correct thing for if I just, sorry for having to open up another browser. But unfortunately, I might have to find like a profile for it, because I've not been able to get Cura to work with, basically allow me to install their ABS profile. which is kind of annoying. And you're probably wondering, so like, what are you going to do? So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to still say, okay, it's going to be an ABS. Like, I can just use the generic settings until Kira figures it out that I want to actually use the Polymaker stuff. There we go. And or it might just be a plugin that I have to set up, which for some reason is just not set up. There you go. So yeah, so it's kind of unfortunate that I do actually have the Polymaker ABS installed. And when I restart it, wait, yes, I ended up basically pinning the installer. There we go. Rather than the actual program. There you go. So it's kind of annoying, but basically what I could do is oops, press the wrong button. There you go. ABS, install it. In order to use the package, you'll need to restart Kira. So I hit quit, right? Shuts down the program. And then what I typically do, also am starting to learn to do, is make sure it's not running in the background, right? Which in this case it is not. Yeah, it's not running in the background. Yeah, no, it's not running in the background. And then what I should be able to do is, once it loads up, be able to select the profile. But trust me, it has not worked. Nope, it just shows POA. So in this case, for POA from them, I have their Polyflex, Polymax, Poly Plus, which this top box is the Poly Plus. And then their Poly Wood, which is wood-filled POA, which I can't print, unfortunately. But what I could use is, I could use, let's say, like, hold on a second here. Like Ultimaker's, wait, no, that's not what I need. Like eSun's, no wait, eSun only does POA and PETG. I could use like 3D Fuel's only, like I could use another for, someone else's profile for, like for example, here's Leapfrog. I can use their ABS profile, and it should be fine. And then I would be able to print ABS. or I could basically set up as a custom ABS profile. But in this case, I'd be doing POA, and this is their. I'll set it to their plus. Discard the changes, so then I can print their material a little bit easier than normal. So I'll be back in a sec. Just going to check the print, and I will be back. There we go. I just also put the empty rolls just in the corner of my room. Sorry about that. Yeah, so like I said, there's different websites and stuff like that to get models and stuff like that. Like I typically use, like I said, the ones that I mentioned, like Printables, Thingiverse, Thangs, few others. And you're probably wondering, like, what do you do if you're not at your computer? So what I do is, obviously I always have my phone with me, and the sites that I just mentioned, like I said, Thangs, Printables, My Mini Factory as well. Those three. Oh, and Bamboo, which Bamboo as well. All those three have mobile apps, and I will look at models and stuff like that on my phone, download them, and then go from there, basically. Sometimes it will open up in a web browser, then I'll download it through there, and then send it to myself. So then when I get back home, I can download it if I can, because I typically email it to myself, the file, load it up, send it to printer, and I'm good to go. So let me put these boxes away, and we'll wrap up the video. There we go. Those boxes are away. So you might be wondering, like, what do you do with finished prints and stuff like that? So depending on the model and the material, or the type of colors of material that it is, like the silk rainbow one, for example, I'll just leave it as that color. There are ones that I am looking to paint, if I can get them to work properly, like for example Ray's lightsaber. I do need to do some testing with this one, but this one will be done over the holidays. There's a few others that I want to paint, like this guy. I want to paint this guy, but I'll probably print it a lot bigger than this. I'll probably print it at like 300%. Before we close out, let's actually see if I can even print it at 300% size. And I'll also talk about printers as well. So like I said, my printer is the Anycubic Cobra Go, which unfortunately no longer exists. The closest one to mine would be their Neo, which is 220 by 220 by 250, which is a good printer from what I've heard. You don't have to spend a lot on 3D printing. That's what I didn't do. Like, you could get a 3D printer for like a couple $100, right? Like for me, like yeah, the Prusa's are a pretty good machine as well, like the Prusa i3 Mark III, or now the Mark IV is out. But those for me are like $1,100 printers. They're stupidly expensive. But like I said, I have Cura open now. That I don't need. So let's wrap up with it. Oh, there we go. Haha. So this is on my main system. So you can see here's the same settings, same everything. I actually had to update Cura. So same settings, same everything. Custom 0.8 wall thickness, which should be, I think I set it to 1.0. That was 8. I think this was also 1.0, I think. That was 8. That was 8. Infill is 25%. Everything should be the way that I typically do it. Brim, because with this one I actually know what the thing's going to do. So you can see here I have the Mitsuri katana from Demon Slayer, which part of it I will be printing at some point, but that's not the one that I'm going to be hoping to print. So this is just sort of like my other stuff where I keep ones that I don't know where they exactly go, or should go, shall we say. So here it is, the Minecraft Ore Solid, which is the exact same as this little white one here. So it is only 32 mil tall. But what I can do is I can come over here to size it. Let's say 1,000. Okay, I can't go 1,000, but let's say I can print it at 500 if I really wanted to print it at 500% size. And keep in mind, I think this is either 25% or 100% size. I can't remember because it was been a while since I printed it. And what I also want to make sure is I want to configure this for a second. Okay, so this, you have to check your print settings, like your printer settings and stuff like that. So this for me was set to 222 by 222. I set it to 220 by 220 because that is what that printer is set up as. So just check your settings before you do anything like this. So this is a little bit too big at 500. So what I'm going to do is set it to 250% size. Like I said, no supports because I know what the model is going to do. Here's all the print settings and stuff like that. I am going to be using probably gyroid infill for it, which I typically don't use gyroid. I typically use line infill, which is this guy here. So this one, if you can see down there, that's line infill, and it's solid all the way through, even at 50%. For this, I'm doing it at 25% infill, just because, like I said, I know what the model is going to do. I could even bump it up if I wanted to, but at this resolution and stuff like that, I should be pretty darn good with what it's going to do, print speeds and stuff like that. I did a top layer of 1.0 mil, bottom is 1.0. Wall count, line count is 8. Wall thickness is 1.0. Layer height is 0.2. Yeah, I know the print head that I have on, or the nozzle I should say, is a 0.4, so I could go like like 0.3 if I wanted to, but I typically stay around a 0.2. Slice this thing up, and yeah, it's going to be about 20 hours, even at 250% size, with everything that I have set. Let's say, like, if I drop this to like 6 of each, it shouldn't take too much long. It should drop it by a fair bit. Instead of it being like 19, yeah, okay, so it dropped it by about an hour and a minute, basically. And that's just because of the infill. So let's say 15%. 15% is typically sort of the low end that I would typically go at. Yeah, you're still looking at 15. So, and then what I would also look at is their size. So 150 is probably not 1 point. There you go. And then we would slice it. Yeah, about 4 hours at 150%. Unfortunately, I would have to export this, because as you can see in the bottom left here, it says 3MF, and 3MF is another format. Like, I think the Bamboo P1P and the X1 Carbon, I think they use 3MF format. This uses STLs, OBJs, and SG code, so I'd have to export this, which is pretty easy. Do that, select your format. So for me, I would use STL binary, and then I would select where I'm going to dump it, if it's on a drive or something like that. So let's say if I do 175 for it, which would be actually pretty big, and then slice it, and then that's where we'll wrap up. Yeah, it's like 7 hours at 175, which is not too bad. Boop. So, yeah, I know it's been a long video. It's over an hour, plus the footage that I'm going to drop in from my phone. So, probably at the end here, and then I will probably show you what the print looks like tomorrow once it's done. So yeah, like I said, I know it's going to be a long video, but I hope it was an entertaining video, or an informational video about 3D printing and stuff like that, because I enjoy it. Just making stuff. If there's something that you guys really want me to make, like the Mitsuri katana, I can do it. It will take me a few days to print all the parts. I can do it. It would take me probably, I would say, at least a week to do it, because just the blade alone, in the way that I would have to do it, is about 15 hours. Yeah, and that doesn't include sanding all the parts and actually building it, and then painting it and all that stuff. So if you guys really want me to print those things, I can. Some of it I will be printing in the next little bit, as sort of as the start of it, shall we say. So anyways, bye bye. So anyways, I'm back. Now we're at the printer. What I always do is, so I have a window here, above sort of where I keep my consoles and stuff. Always have a window open, or door or something for ventilation. And then come over to your printer. I can actually remove that old piece there. I actually have a recycling can for just scraps and old prints. Like this technically should go into it, but I actually want to keep it for testing purposes. This can go into it. So I use it constantly for like removing crap off of prints, or parts off the bed, like these things. and it's recyclable. So then I'll show you the printer. So this is a printer. I have stuff over off to the side that are like failed prints and stuff which really need to go out and do some other testing. So what I would always do is then I would just turn on the printer. The SD card is right here. That's the SD card with our print file on it. You can see some of my settings. I have a Z offset of 6.32 because I can't get the bed level at the moment because I haven't released new firmware for it. And then you would do menu, print from SD, and then select your file. So in this case it's the FlexiRexy, and we're printing. You can see the bed is heating up to 60 degrees. It tells us our target of 60, and how you start 3D printing, from going from a file on a computer to a finished prop, or model in this case, of a Squirtle. Oh, bye-bye.